who infamously blasted candidate Donald Trump back in March. We're going to talk about it all in depth tonight with an A-list group of guests, including Donald Trump senior advisor Kellyanne Conway, Governor Mike Huckabee, who himself sat down with the president-elect just yesterday. But first, my opening statement. The treatment of Vice President-elect Mike Pence last night in New York City, where he was booed on the way into the play Hamilton and lectured from the stage on his way out, was both outrageous and embarrassing. What happened in that theater, 1 block from this studio, was out and out reverse racism and teed up hate for a man who has done nothing to deserve this inappropriate and disgusting behavior by those who take it upon themselves to use what was supposed to be a night of art and recreation and appreciation for our American history as a political bully pulpit to chide the incoming vice president. Take a listen.
We are the diverse America who are alarmed and anxious that your new administration will not protect us, our planet, our children, our parents, or defend us and uphold our inalienable rights, sir. But we truly hope that this show has inspired you to uphold our American values and to work on behalf of all of us. This wonderful American story told by a diverse group of men and women of different colors, creeds, and orientations.
You're kidding, right? You're alarmed the vice president is not going to protect us, our children, our parents, our planet, our values. Who's left? Al-Qaeda? Of course he's going to protect us, our parents, our children, our planet, and defend us. Why didn't you ask Hillary Clinton, part of the disastrous Obama administration that put so many Americans at risk when they were in charge? Why didn't you ask her that when she attended Hamilton? No, you let her enjoy the show. Or Bernie Sanders. You even gave him a standing ovation. The vice president, our vice president-elect, from a family of veterans whose son is in the military, himself someone elected to serve in the House of Representatives for 12 years, elected the governor of a state, and now the vice president-elect of the United States. One, I might add, without a hint of scandal. This man is well aware of his obligation, and he deserves nothing but our respect and acceptance, especially when he chooses to come to your play about American history for his first real moment of relaxation with his family after a grueling campaign where he fought not only the Democrats, but the media, the pollsters, the talking geniuses, the establishment, the White House, and even Jay-Z. You had your week to cry your eyes out and have your temper tantrums. You holier-than-thou liberals in this country have to start looking in the mirror. Last night violates everything you say that you stand for. That big tent, the inclusive, broad-minded acceptance of everyone, even people who don't look or act like you. What happened to your old love trumps hate line? You're all damn hypocrites. You think that you and people who think like you are the only ones who deserve respect. Well, let me tell you something. This guy won fair and square in spite of the rigged system that you think is so damn democratic. Your party, your candidate was rejected, and you lost. Now you crybabies want to rethink the Electoral College. Now, you're Hamiltonians. You're students of American history. Why not hip-hop about the Electoral College? Or is that the part of the Constitution that you just want to ignore? Do I need to remind you it's called Article 2 of the United States Constitution? Maybe you want to dance about Hamilton. Why not dance about that? Not part of your agenda? Well, let me tell you something. Everyday Americans, forgotten Americans, most of whom can't afford tickets to your play and may not even have heard of Hamilton, got up and they voted, even though they were told it wouldn't matter. They voted because they were fed up against your policies, because your party spends too much and you regulate too much and your party's nominees are corrupt. You and your bloated federal government and your global fantasies about bringing in the rest of the world, and you don't give a damn who's paying for it, and you don't care who can afford it. The middle class and the low-income classes have had just about enough. And they didn't just reject your presidential candidate, they rejected your Senate, your House, and your governorships. Get used to it. And I've got news for you. Don't lecture this man. You may know a little about hip-hop and dancing around a stage. I majored in American history, and I saw the play Hamilton, and I loved it. But you just took the fun, the enjoyment, and the memory of that play right out of me, which might explain why the #1 hashtag that's trending right now is hashtag boycott Hamilton. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter. Hashtag Judge Jeanine. Joining me now by phone, Senior Advisor to President-elect Donald Trump's transition team, Kellyanne Conway. You there, Kellyanne?
I'm right here with you, girl. That was an amazing open.
I got to tell you, Kellyanne, we believe in free speech. We believe in accepting winners and not being sore losers. But you know what? I have met Mike Pence several times. The man is a gentleman. He's a stand-up guy. He is a patriot. He is everything that we want. And for him to be disrespected in my city, in New York City, infuriates me. What say you?
I second that, Jeanine. And frankly, I've worked with Mike Pence for about 10 years as his pollster and advisor. Everything you just said about him is true. And if people looked at him on the campaign trail, he was soft-spoken, he was funny, he was inclusive, he was earnest, and he certainly was substantive. And by the way, the major point here is none of that. The major point is he's hashtag your vice president. I am so tired of seeing these signs everywhere. Hashtag not my president. I couldn't even get to work last Saturday at Trump Tower. There were 20,000 protesters. I had to be escorted because they were all there with not my president. You know what? Because these people were not prepared for the possibility that Trump and Pence may actually be elected. Everybody said it could never happen, so no one was prepared for it. And the sanctimonious high horse riding elites said what? Donald Trump better accept the results of the election, and he better say that Hillary Clinton is his president. They were asking the right questions about the wrong candidate. Now you have all these crybabies, these precious snowflakes. They have a right to exercise their voice. But honestly, this guy was there for a leisure activity. He had spent the whole day in Trump Tower working hard. He had a little downtime with his daughter, his nieces and nephew. And I think it's inappropriate, actually, to put him in that position when he's not at a political event, he's not somewhere protesting. By the way, you haven't even talked about when he came out of the theater, all the people standing there with signs who had read on social media that he was inside.
Yep.
And the harassment they took outside the theater with people in their cardboard signs.
And you know what's amazing about him? Yeah. I mean, the man waves. He doesn't say a word. He says thank you.
So
he
polite.
waited for them to... I mean, he's such a gentleman.
Yes, he is. He's a gentleman, he's a patriot, and he's a public servant of many years who runs for all the right reasons. By the way, he's also a very tough person when it's appropriate. He's somebody who voted against all the junk that his Republican president was trying to put forward with all the extra spending. But look, the bottom line here, too, is what happened at the ballot box 2 weeks ago, Jeanine, just happened again today,
yes.
where people will express themselves with their buying habits. And when he, let's listen to Donald Trump. The night that the wee hours of the morning, Jeanine, you and I were there when he claimed victory. What did he say? He said, "I will be the president to all Americans, even those who did not support me." Pence believes that too, and nobody's giving them a chance to actually prove that.
Well, what they're doing is they're creating their own narrative. But you know what I saw today, Kellyanne? When I saw the president-elect, and I don't want to call him Donald Trump, the president-elect, it was basically, talk about transparency, and I mean the hypocrisy of the last administration. We saw the president-elect actually interviewing people from, from the Trump golf course in New Jersey, and we saw people. It's almost like the what we saw with President Lincoln with his rivals. He brought in Mitt Romney. He brought in all kinds of people for different positions. What can you tell us? And will announcements be made soon from what happened in Bedminster today?
Yes, I was there in Bedminster today for part of the day. I'll be there tomorrow, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. As president-elect, Jeanine, he's being exactly who he's always been. He's taken the counsel of different people. He's fully engaged, interviewing the people himself, and also having conversations. Not every interview is going to lead to a position in the administration. Maybe that's not even why some of the people are there. Maybe they're just there to have a serious conversation about the next president of the United States, about the policy issue they've worked on for decades, or about the success they've had in non-political America, or great ideas they have about the world. And in the case of Mitt Romney, Donald Trump and Mitt Romney are two successful American entrepreneur, business owners, job creators, who also had the courage to and the fortune to run as the Republican nominee for president. And obviously one of them was successful, but a lot of what Mitt Romney said in 2012 about the world has come true. A lot of what he warned us about has come true.
That's right.
But this is just a meeting of the minds, and what I can tell you is there will be announcements in due course, but I looked at a calendar today. We are ahead of where President-elect Obama was in terms of announcing
Absolutely. What about I have 30 seconds. What about General Mathis? He sounds like a very interesting guy.
He's being seriously considered, and I tell you, we have a long list for each, there's a long short list for each of these positions, but obviously he's piqued some interest as well. I know you saw the security team announced yesterday. Donald Trump is ahead of schedule where President-elect Obama was at this point, and these things take time. And I think most importantly, Jeanine, you're going to see them talking about legislation and executive orders sometime soon as well, which will be big news.
There's no question. It's already starting. Kellyanne, I know how busy you are. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Judge. Always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. And with me now, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor Huckabee himself met with President-elect Trump just yesterday at Trump Tower. Correct, Governor?
That is correct.
All right.
I was
Don't you
part
love
of
it
a
over
long
there?
parade of people. It's a fascinating time to try to get into the building with all the people.
Did you go in on Fifth Avenue, or did you go in the side entrance, Governor?
I went right through the front door.
You did. I have to tell you, I love Manhattan, and there's such a hubbub. But let me first, before I get into it, what do you think of what happened to the vice president-elect at Hamilton last night?
Well, I thought he showed a lot more class than some of the cast members and audience members did, who used what really is a wonderful time of escape from the normal pressures of life to go to the theater, and used it for a political staging event. And it's just unfortunate. And it's not what people go out, whether it's to dinner or to the theater. It's not what it's about. But look, Mike Pence handled it beautifully. I think it's interesting that somebody from Hamilton would do this when they had a cast call and said only non-whites can apply. Now that's racism.
That's why I said it's reverse racism. You're right. And to our viewers who may not know, the fascinating thing about the play Hamilton is that the characters are played by people who are Hispanic or African American. So Thomas Jefferson is played by an African American. I mean, everything is reverse in the play. So the only white person, as I recall, was King George, and there was maybe one other, but everybody else is a minority, correct?
That's correct. It's one of the ironies of what happened last night. But, liberals, they just don't have a sense of humor. I mean, I was backstage for a play in Broadway a few years ago. A friend of mine produced it, and a guy came up to me. This was with a lot of people standing around, and screamed and yelled and, said some terrible things. And everyone was just in shock because, they were being very gracious to me, and this guy just blew the whole mood. When he walked away, I just turned and said, I'm going to mark him down as undecided.
Yeah.
You have to look at this stuff with humor.
You
just can't let it get to you.
Running for office, I mean, we're used to it. I'm used to it. You, of course, at a different level. But let's talk about what happened today. You were with the president-elect yesterday. What do you want to tell us, Governor?
Nothing. Don't want to tell you a thing. And here's why. The two greatest qualities that any president needs of people with whom he speaks, number one is loyalty, and number two is confidentiality. And if you can't bring those two things to the room, you shouldn't be in the room.
Did the president-elect ask you to not say something? Did the president-elect ask you to not say anything?
No, he didn't have to, because I know better. I know that, as I often said.
Let's move on.
Well, no.
What do you think of the Romney thing? We've got 1 minute.
People who don't know don't talk.
Okay. Got it. Mitt Romney, what do you think? He wasn't very nice to our friend, the president-elect.
No, it went beyond just not being nice. He went out of his way to be harmful, hurtful, and to do everything he can or could to derail the candidacy of Donald Trump. And I think that's what was so offensive about it.
So what do you think the president-elect is going to do?
Well, I can't imagine that he's going to offer him a cabinet post. I think that would be, in many ways, an insult to the many voters who supported Donald Trump. And apparently, Mitt Romney thought that they were all a bunch of idiots because they were following a person that he deemed a fraud, a con man, and a total phony. That's not just an insult to Donald Trump. It's an insult to all the people who believed in him and who followed him and who elected him. The 60 million Americans who thought he would be a great president.
One more question. Doesn't this prove that Donald Trump is not the thin-skinned person that Miss Hillary wanted everyone to think he was?
It clearly proves that. I'll tell you a couple of things about Donald Trump. Number one, he has an extraordinary sense of perspective. He's not threatened by people. And the fact that he's invited his former rivals in to see him tells you a lot about his character. The second thing about Donald Trump you can know, the man is a workaholic.
I know that.
I mean, nobody
we're up against a hard
outworks him.
break. 5 seconds. Quick.
Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Governor. Thank you. All right, Ambassador John Bolton still ahead tonight. Next, CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp weighs in on the busy day in Jersey for the president-elect and the big announcements that we probably are going to hear tomorrow. Plus, what are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful for God. Of course, we're not supposed to mention him.
Oh, now you can. It's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Thank God. The brutal campaign is over and we have a new president. So what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving? I'm thankful for street justice, and it's coming up later. Stay with us. All right. Good evening, Matt. I just finished speaking with Governor Mike Huckabee, and we kind of put to rest that whole idea that Donald Trump is this thin-skinned individual, given the fact that he's bringing in people like Mitt Romney and Nikki Haley, Trump Tower the other day, bringing in people who are rather critical, to say the least, of him. Now, there's also this rumor that, Donald, the president-elect, only wants people around in the cabinet.
That's right.
What's your take on that argument?
Boy, when I see Mike Flynn, Mike Pompeo, Jeff Sessions, these are people of strong character, strong-willed, opinionated, experienced. They are going to push back on things they don't believe in. Mike Flynn was fired because he pushed back so aggressively. I know Mike Pompeo personally. He's a personal friend. He's my hometown congressman. This is a brilliant guy, first in his class at West Point, went to Harvard Law, and he's a real strong-willed guy. I mean, Donald Trump is putting together so far a very impressive group of guys together.
Okay, so we know Pompeo is brilliant, Harvard, #1 at West Point, in Congress, sat on Select Committee on Benghazi. He's been on Justice many times. We love him. We think he's great. And Flynn, also a straight shooter, a tough talker. But let's talk about Sessions. Now, Sessions also is someone, the Attorney General candidate, Senate confirmation. There is some pushback. It seems like every day they push back on somebody and then it goes away to the next guy. That, it's just like the crybabies who can't get over the election are like, let's push back on the next guy and see if that sticks. So Sessions is this incredible background in terms of former United States attorney, world-class legal mind, and for all the criticism of him, while he was United States attorney, he filed a host of desegregation lawsuits in Alabama that goes right against things that people are saying about him.
Yeah, and I also think, Judge, this whole question about bringing up race over and over again, I actually think the American people are quite exhausted from all this. I know Jeff Sessions, he failed to be confirmed when he's put up to be a federal judge, but that was all politics. It was all politics, and I think he's going to be just fine with his colleagues in the United States Senate, and he's going to be a very bold attorney general. I'm very pleased he's going to be there.
And you know what amazes me? For all the talk of racism, and it infuriates me because stuff that isn't true, when it gets into the media, Senator Sessions voted in favor of the 30-year extension of the Civil Rights Act.
That's right.
And he, filed the desegregation lawsuits in Alabama. And also, he campaigned against George Wallace. He spearheaded the effort to award the Congressional Gold Medal to Rosa Parks, an Alabama native and civil rights. I mean, come on.
And he prosecuted the head of the KKK. I mean, let's get the facts out on the table, and when the American people hear the facts, he will be confirmed. And the important thing is Donald Trump will have someone at the Department of Justice who will follow the law. It's the first time in 8 years in every case.
Oh, you mean when Loretta Lynch met Bill Clinton on the tarmac, that really was an accident?
There'll be no secret meetings in the backs of planes with Jeff Sessions as Attorney General, Judge.
Yeah, he's a very smart, ethical man. And finally, have you heard anything about this General Mattis?
Everything I've heard is wonderful, that he is a great leader, that he's probably exactly what we need at the Department of Defense. And once again, he is no shrinking violet. He is somebody who I think will stand up and give the president straight advice. And look, in the times we're in, overseas, with what we face, the threats with terrorism and everything, and Russia and China, we need a war cabinet that's ready to defend American interests, and I think that's what he's putting together.
And I spoke with my good friend Colonel Hunt, and he said to me that he worked with Mattis, and he said his nickname is Mad Dog Mattis. I like him already. Max,
I think
thanks for being with us.
The terrorists will love it too, Judge.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanksgiving Street Justice style still ahead. But first, a big political panel on deck. OPEC Chairman David Avella, former Bill Clinton pollster Doug Schoen, ready to go at it. We'll talk President-elect Trump and debate some of the picks already made, as well as some on the horizon. Don't go away.
This is our workshop. These are highlights. Performance is our tradition. And this is the TLX. Take advantage of some of the best offers of the year at the Acura Season of Performance event going on now. This holiday, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the TLX. Hurry, this event won't last.
Yeah, so Mom's got this cold. Hashtag
News headquarters, I'm Patricia Stark. Here's what's happening. Minnesota is still digging out from its first big snowstorm of the winter season. Parts of the state getting as much as 25 inches of snow since Friday, causing hundreds of crashes and spinouts. Icy roads are now to blame for 2 deaths. An Atlas V rocket is carrying the most advanced weather satellite ever built into space tonight. The satellite is part of an $11 billion effort to track our weather from everything from hurricanes to floods to wildfires, even solar flares. The satellite is the first of 4 and will go into orbit more than 22,000 miles into space. And a Soyuz rocket carrying 3 new crew members docks with the International Space Station. American Peggy Whitson is now the oldest woman to travel in space. She'll celebrate her 57th birthday in February. I'm Patricia Stark, and now back to Justice with Judge Jeanine.
Another big day of developments for President-elect Trump and his transition team after a week of significant announcements. Here to break it all down, my all-star political panel tonight, GOPAC chairman and Republican strategist David DeVella, as well as former Bill Clinton pollster and Fox News contributor Doug Shum. Okay, guys. Now, isn't it early for the president-elect to be doing this kind of thing? I know that President Obama didn't even start doing this until December, and we are like deep into this stuff. Is it rather early, Doug?
Look, I think given that we are a divided country, it's all to the good that he's moving quickly. My concern and hope is that he focuses on what he said in his victory speech, which is bringing the country together and appointing a wide diversity of people with different opinions.
Okay, I'm not suggesting it's not good. I'm saying that it's fantastic the guy's
I'm
going
agreeing.
to work. Nobody goes to work this fast.
No disagreement.
Okay, and David, now when Doug says diversity, let's talk about the fact that, you know, we've got the president-elect basically doing interviews in front of the cameras. It's not like people are bringing in people through, you know, the side doors, or this guy's bringing in his pal. The president is showing how open he is, how big his tent is, by bringing in some of his biggest critics, like the team of rivals, you know, from Lincoln. What do you think of that?
When you know who you want in your cabinet, you can make decisions pretty quickly. And President Obama doesn't have a single person in his cabinet that doesn't share his fundamental belief on the issues. And it is absurd to think that somehow Donald Trump should be held to a different standard. In fact, you think about the criticism that's of Mike Pompeo right now. It used to be liberals would say that the gold standard was you had to graduate from Harvard. Mike Pompeo does that. They criticize him. So now their standard must be only if you graduate from Harvard and you push the progressive agenda, then you're okay. That's why Donald Trump shouldn't worry about pleasing Senate Democrats all the time to make sure they're approving of his picks.
Okay, Doug, is graduating from Harvard a negative now? I'm not real clear on that one.
Look, I went to Harvard and Harvard Law School, so I'm not going to attack my heritage, though I did attack President Obama on this show. To me, the issue is really a big tent. It's not holding Trump accountable or attacking progressives. It's we're one country, one agenda, which is that of the United States of America. And I hope my good friend David recognizes this is not about partisanship. It's about our future.
Let me ask you this.
But Doug, no, it's not. But Doug, who in President Obama's cabinet doesn't share his fundamental beliefs on the issues?
Do we care about President Obama? Let's keep moving forward. Let's not look in the rearview mirror anymore. Now, let's talk about what is happening with the president-elect. I'm hearing about this guy that I'm very impressed with. I want to know more about him. This General Mattis, 4-star, 2 tours in, I believe, in Iraq or in the Gulf anyway. And according to my friend Colonel Hunt, Mad Dog, brilliant, genius, scary-looking guy. I mean, that was not a good term to use. I mean, he looks like he's a serious guy. Are you saying that you want him to be, all of these people to be for all Americans? I mean, what makes progressives or Democrats or people at a play in New York City think that appointments are not going to be for everybody? Where is this coming from, Doug?
It's coming when you have people, however talented and qualified they may be, who all are conservatives. If you remember,
who do you want him to pick? A socialist like Bernie Sanders? Americans chose Republicans at every stage of government.
If I can finish, Jean, the vote was evenly divided. The Electoral College was evenly divided. Obama had Republicans in Hagel and Gates. I just think a big tent makes more sense. I'm not justifying or questioning the president's right to appoint who he wants. I just think we have a larger mission to fight al-Qaeda, to get the economy going. And if we get a big tent, we'll all do better, not as Democrats and Republicans, but as Americans.
Okay, what do you mean the Electoral College was evenly divided? What are you talking about, Doug? No,
what I'm
wasn't.
talking about is it was hardly a landslide.
Well, it doesn't
Jeanine,
have to be a landslide. It's who wins and who loses.
Jeanine, I'm not questioning the legitimacy of Donald Trump. I'm saying when you have an evenly divided country, you ought to bring people together, not try to
People
parse
came together
results.
not just for this president, but at every level of government. David, you answer it.
That's good.
It's a large cabinet. We've heard about 3 appointments so far. But here is what these 3 appointments say. Donald Trump is taking very seriously Americans' personal security and safety, and that is one of the reasons why he was elected.
Okay, let's talk about, I want to go to the DNC now. They're talking about this guy Ellison to head the DNC. The Democratic Party's in a tailspin, Doug. They can't figure out why they lost. I mean, it's Hillary's fault, it's Jim Comey's fault, It's the talking heads' fault. And now they want to put a Minnesota radical, Keith Ellison, to head the DNC. Is that a good move?
I think it's a terrible move, and I, as a Democrat who puts country ahead of party, thinks this is a big mistake, a bad choice, and sends absolutely the wrong message to the American people and mainstream Democrats.
David?
No. The Democratic Party is not a national party at the moment. They're having some success in a few states. A third of all congressional Democrats come from New York, Massachusetts, and California. Yeah. Putting Ellison in as party chairman will only make that worse for them.
All right, David and Doug. Doug, I didn't know you went to Harvard, both undergrad and grad school. I'm so impressed. Thanks,
absolutely.
guys.
I'm very proud of it, Jeanine.
You should be. All right. And Street Justice is still ahead. Plus, he's keeping a close eye on the Trump transition team. Ambassador John Bolton standing by and will join us next as justice rolls on.
See me.
See me.
Don't stare at me.
See me.
See me.
See me to know. This psoriasis is just something that I have.
Developing tonight, important meetings all weekend for President-elect Donald Trump in New Jersey. Here with reaction and analysis to the latest transition news, former U.S. Ambassador to the UN and Fox News contributor John Bolton. All right, good evening, Ambassador. Now,
glad to be with you.
I want to do 2 things with you tonight. And I hate looking in the rearview mirror, especially when it comes to President Obama. But I know that he's traveling, and I don't know where he is, but I know he was with Angela Merkel, and he's headed somewhere, Peru, or what is the guy doing, and why is he doing it?
Well, this trip was obviously set up before the election, and it was supposed to be his valedictory victory tour to help cement his legacy internationally. You know, he had a very famous... Well, I would be hard-pressed to describe it, but it's obviously not turned out the way that he planned it because those persnickety American people didn't elect Hillary Clinton. What it has emphasized,
and he took it personally, right? He said he was.
Well, he set it up to take it personally, saying, I need her to be my 3rd term. So I think what it underlines is just for Americans as well, he has 2 months left in office. 2 months, and then he's gone.
All right. Quickly, are you worried in those 2 months, Ambassador, that through the UN he is capable of doing some damage to the American people, Israel, as well as some of our allies?
Well, I think this is the point of maximum danger from my point of view of his actions. I think there are potential foreign threats of people trying to take advantage of him, but it's with respect to Israel in the Security Council and the General Assembly. There's all kinds of speculation in New York that the U.S. will depart from decades of settled policy and support a resolution that recognizes the existence of a Palestinian state, that defines Israel's borders in a way that confines them to what's called the 67 ceasefire lines, all of which is an effort to resolve the dispute between Palestinians and Israelis, not through face-to-face bargaining, but by what Barack Obama thinks is best.
Right. Scary stuff. We're going to have you on again. I want to talk about these next couple of months. All right, so Jeff Sessions, okay, probable AG candidate, a lot of mud going along. It's like every day they throw mud at the next person and see what sticks. You were in the Department of Justice at the time that he was being nominated for a federal judgeship. Tell us about that.
Well, I was in charge of legislative affairs, and I must say it was the most outrageous series of attacks on anybody I had ever seen. I thought he was treated very unfairly. I thought he was the victim of really a political campaign. And in many respects, what happened to Jeff in that judicial nomination was the forecast of what was to come for William Rehnquist for the Supreme Court, for Bob Bork for the Supreme Court later. It all really began back there. So it was a fine irony that he was elected to the Senate later and now serves on the Judiciary Committee. I think he'll be confirmed. I think they may try and replay the 1986 battle. But I think times have changed, and I think viewed on what he's done since that fight in '86, he should be confirmed.
Why do you say it was a training ground? What do you mean by that?
Well, what had happened in the confirmation process and what Jeff was the first victim of was that instead of looking at the person's record and competence, it was like a political campaign. And a nominee is very hard-pressed to defend when you have outside interest groups digging things out of the record, trying to present them without context. There was open revolt from within the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, openly working with liberal members of the Judiciary Committee and others to sabotage the nomination. It was startling to all of us. But as I say, it was just the beginning of what was to come over the next 30 years.
Interesting. All right. Well, it seems that he is well respected and has a great record that I talked about earlier in the show. Anyway, Ambassador John Bolton, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Glad to be.
Thanksgiving is just a few days away, so I headed out to see what America is thankful for now that we have a new president. Here's tonight's Street Justice. Thanksgiving is next week. We have a new president. What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful that he won the election. I'm very thankful.
And how are you celebrating for Thanksgiving?
I'm making my brother do it so I don't have to.
Yeah, it's about time the men started cooking. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Going to Atlantic City. That's where my family's from.
Are you gambling on Thanksgiving, yes or no?
Maybe.
Mama, he ain't telling you the truth. We got a new president. You thankful for that?
I'm not too sure about that one.
Ah, come on. What are you thankful for?
Well, I'm thankful for God. Of course, we're not supposed to mention him.
Oh, now you can. It's Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Thank God. Hey, so what do you think of this new president?
Hey, man, nobody likes you, man.
Yeah, well, how did he get elected?
I am very thankful for my family. I'm thankful for the election. We go to my brother-in-law's, the whole family, out on the farm.
Oh, you know what they eat in Texas? They eat fried turkey.
Fried turkey.
Oh!
We start with fried turkey.
Who ever thought of frying a turkey?
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I love it.
This brother gonna cook a ham.
You gonna cook a ham?
Yeah.
All right. You don't like turkeys?
Nah, not anymore.
Are you happy?
Happy about what?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, hell no.
Why?
Because this land don't belong to these people.
Ooh, what people?
The people that are occupying it right now.
Like me? I'm occupying it. I'm occupying this space.
I don't celebrate Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I don't celebrate.
Eat turkey?
I eat turkey sometimes, yeah.
Okay, well, then you know what? That may be blasphemous. But you're happy. We got a new president. He's all right, right?
He's all right, man. Trump is a good guy, man. He's fighting for pro-Americanism, man. He said all the Latinos that's coming over here illegal, get out of here and come here legally. All the Muslims that's over there in that country, I'm Muslim. All the Muslims that's over there, stay over there. We can't tell whether or not you're terrorists or not, so stay there. We don't want no more buildings blew up. We trying to stay safe, man. We trying to protect our kids and our families, man. That's all.
What are you thankful for?
Oh, it's very lovely.
Who's lovely, me or Thanksgiving?
Both.
Good answer. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to have a big turkey, maybe buy me a new BMW.
Well, how are you going to buy a BMW for Thanksgiving?
Because it's my birthday.
Thanksgiving's your birthday?
Why not?
Your mother was thankful she got rid of you on Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, baby!
We'll be right back.
How many hotels does Trivago compare? 1,000? 30,000? 200,000? 900,000! Trivago now compares prices for more than 1 million hotels to find your ideal hotel for the best price. Hotel Trivago.
For us tonight, we had a lot of fun. Remember, friend me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Judge_Jeanine. Thanks for watching. I want to wish everyone and their families a wonderful, happy, and blessed Thanksgiving. See you next time.